All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checkered TV. Tonight we have race number. I had it ready and then I lost it. Race number 6, halfway through the season after tonight at the Milwaukee Mile here in Wisconsin. So I hope you are all having a wonderful evening so far tonight. Right now, like I said, drivers putting down their laps for qualifying. Last week, I say, was not broadcasted. Didn't have quite the car count. A lot of drivers did not make it out to Brazil, unfortunately. But what I can tell you, Eric Schaus, the winner of that race, over Craig Forsyth and Dan Morera there in third. However, on the point side of things, Craig Forsyth, I believe, on vacation. So he is not here this evening, nor is Eric Schaus, our winner from last week, unfortunately. So drivers that are going to be able to benefit from that. Of course, we do have a one drop week, which will help Craig out as he is our points leader currently. But Matt Wagner right now, 48 points out of the lead, so he should be able to make a big jump on there. Also, unfortunately, Chris Stouffer does not appear to be here tonight. So look for Dan Morera to make some good jumps as well in the points, and then Gary Laverne in 5th at the moment. So I expect to see him make some good gains as well. However, for tonight's event, 130 laps here at Milwaukee. Fuel mileage is hearing right around the 40, 50, mid 40s, maybe low 50 fuel mileage window. So pretty much guaranteed 2 stops for tires and fuel. However, the big strategy for tonight is going to be when do you take those tires, because they're going to have a limited set tonight. Only 3 sets of tires left in the pit, so 2 of those probably will be those scheduled pit stops. One potentially available to use as needed or as wanted by these drivers. And saying that's a big thing in these cars, is to try to figure out when is the place and time to use them, because this track, I feel like tires will definitely matter. Although, of course, track position with the aero wash that these cars love to give is always a concern. So with that, I'm going to bring in the guy who knows way more about these cars than I do, Mr. Andrew Wood. So, Andrew, tires versus track position, clean air. What are your thoughts for the right strategy for these drivers tonight?
Yeah, good to be with you, Gael, tonight. The strategy, it's really tough, honestly, because tires really mean a lot at a short track like this. Short track racing always gives these guys quite a bit of a difficult balance between trying to save their tire for later in the stint if they're back in the field to perhaps make some moves later on, or just try their best to get as many positions as they can through the middle part of the stint. So I actually don't even really know what the right strategy, quote unquote, right strategy would be. I think it all is going to depend person by person how their race unfolds. Some of the guys up front may elect to change tires every time, whereas some of the guys in the back may opt for the track position, save a set of tires, and make sure they have something for a final dash should we get to that point. So it's a tough one to tell for sure, but this is a very interesting change of pace from what we usually see these guys racing with.
Yeah, saying usually it's pretty much if there's a caution, for the most part, you'd see everybody in tires, fuel, and jump back out there. So a little bit more strategy come into play tonight. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. We talked again early about capitalizing on some of the drivers missing races, and looks like right now the one going to capitalize the best on that one is going to be Gary Laverne. Still a little bit of time left in practice, but at the moment, at the top of the charts here in qualifying, keeping an eye on Yari. And actually, Yari put a pretty good effort there as well, but not quite able there to top him. And saying also was spying in on the chat there, and also saw one of the drivers who's new to the series. They always love to have the new names, new faces, and that is the 09 there of Iker Peguero. Hopefully not butchering the last name too much, but feel free to correct me on the pronunciations there once you have a chance and once you look it back over. So always great to see some new names, new faces to the league. And looks like we have right around 12 drivers that have joined the session, I should say. Not all of those putting down a qualifying lap, however. So with that, Mr. Wood, let's go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. Let's try to find some of these cars here on track. And we're going to kick it off with our pole sitter here. That is going to be Mr. Gary Laverne by almost 2/10. Great lap by Gary over Dan Morera. Then you got Yari Brupacher, Matt Wagner in row number 2. Andrew McMurray, Charles Teed, row 3. Eric Peterson and Michael Creel there in row 4. And so those are the 8 drivers that did put down a qualifying lap. And then you see from ninth on back, Casey Putsky, Elmer Joseph, William Swenson, and we just mentioned Iker Pagero did not put down a qualifying lap, so they will start in the back of the field. And as I, honestly, if I'd be doing the same thing if I'm the 09. They're new league, new names, new faces. I kind of try to just roll in the back, try to get familiar with the drivers, and I mean, potentially the car. I don't know. He might be a very, very talented open wheel driver. So that's been fun to see. And something we talked about too is this is also, again, we like big car counts, but at the same time in races like this, it also lets us time to give us a little extra attention to those drivers that are here tonight.
Yeah, I see Gary Laverne on pole there, and you were mentioning that he's kind of up there in points. So this gives him an opportunity to get an extra point on some of his competitors that aren't here tonight, and that means everything in a championship fight, where some of these races and some of these seasons we see come down to maybe 1, 2, 3 or so points that could mean 1 or 2 positions on the last race of the season. So it's definitely a good one for Gary there. I believe this might be his first pole, actually, which is kind of like another icing on the cake situation for him.
I'm going to try to see if I can spy on the stats here for him. See if we can check those best starts for Gary Laverne. I think, sir, you are spot on, because his second best start was on April. Oh no, I'm sorry. He did have a pole position on April 2nd at Texas Motor Speedway. It looks like here. So I think possibly second pole, but well, I'll say I got to double check the numbers, make sure that's all correct, because some of these races I'm not sure if these are actually ones from Area 51. So we'll wait and see, but. Right now, though, say Gary's will lead this field, though, to the green here.
And this is something we've mentioned in previous broadcasts as well, is that Gary is kind of sat around the middle of the pack for a lot of these races in the last couple of seasons. And this season in particular, he's really making a stand and showing that he could run with the big boys. He spent a lot of time sitting behind these guys, and I'm sure asking them questions post-race and such to try and get himself faster. And that's what it's all about. These guys aren't just naturally coming here and showing up fast. So good for Gary for sticking with it, and let's see if it pays off for him. He's gonna have the best track position, the best opportunity to keep cars behind him, and this should be a really good chance for him to show what he's about.
Yeah, saying that I think the big thing for the start here, though, is going to be for these drivers is just getting those tires of temp. These tires will be cold to kick it off as the pace car jumps in. Drivers waiting for that green flag to fly. And I say it's a late flag. Now we're down and away. And a great start for Gary there to lead the field here in a turn 1.
And as I mentioned, this is a short track, and the right front tire likes to go pretty quickly. So I think some of these guys towards the back, namely the ones that didn't put in the qualifying time, are going to try and make some moves where they can here. I'm watching Casey Putsky now throw it into turn 3. If they're able to make some moves early, great. Get past 1, 2, maybe 3 cars, and then it's time to settle in and save these tires and make sure that you have something that'll last for the whole stint.
Yeah, Matt's trying to make some quick action as well there early. Was able to get around Yari, tried to get around Dan. Dan was able to hold him off. But already, look at the lines we're seeing, though. You saw Gary, he was at as low as you could go, it felt like. I saw Dan Marrera pretty much up, pretty much as high as I've seen anybody running here tonight. But again, I think that's going to be that find that clean air, find the spot you like. And also, it looks like to me, seeing maybe some late apexes where you kind of enter high and then try to cut down and get that nice exit off. I mean, is there a line that you typically try to run here at Milwaukee Mile? Obviously, with these cars, very different than the stock cars you'd see the way they'd race here.
Not giving away any secrets.
All right,
Kyle.
no secrets.
Yes, there was a line that I loved to race here that it seemed to be a little unconventional, but somehow not so unconventional that it was outrageous. But there is definitely a rhythm you can get into here, and you can easily try and measure the cars ahead of you to see what kind of lines they might want to take and try and offset yourself a little bit. But there was a specific line, especially in turn 1 and 2, that I liked to take that didn't seem to really pick up with a lot of the cars I was battling. So regardless, that may not be the best line, but it was a line that worked for me when I was really, really in peril trying to find my way forward. But these guys are all just going to try their best to hunt for the clean air and see if they can get the best exit. Because one thing I will say is this track is all about your exit.
Yeah, no, exit's going to be critical here. We were watching right there a really good battle with Michael Creo, Casey Putsky, Eric Peterson, all kind of sitting on top of each other. Then we jump just a little bit ahead. Charles Teed is giving Andrick McMurray, pretty much all he can handle right now, trying to find his way around. I did chat with Eric and with Charles a little bit pre-race, and they were really working hard and trying to dial in the right ARBs, the weight jackers. They were spending a lot of time trying to find just what felt the best. Even gearing, say, okay, third gear maybe felt a little loose when I was throttling up, so maybe try to go fourth, see if that maybe brings the revs down, if that helps a little bit out. So I mean, they were really going after anything and everything they could try to dial into that car to find the best handle for tonight.
Right. So it seems that some of the guys that were trying to make some moves at the back really didn't make a lot of progress. It seems that the grid is pretty much similar, with of very minor exceptions of a couple of moves here and there. So unfortunately, some of the guys towards the back weren't able to get up towards the front. But at this point in the stint, we're about just completed 8 laps now, and I believe that people are going to start to sort of file in and see if they could try and get a better advantage on the competitor ahead of them. See if they can maybe pick up a spot now, or maybe even later in the stint once the tires start to wear out.
Yeah, I think, like I said, that's going to be the interesting part too, is to see what tire wear do we see who's abusing the right front, who's maybe kind of, like I said, burning off the right rear on exit. Because again, everybody's got their driving styles and what they do best, and I'm definitely more of a right front abuser. I'm not good at driving off that right rear tire, a lot of like other drivers are, and so I always have that tendency of just really getting that right front just overheated, and then from there just starts to get more and more difficult to get that thing to rotate. So the other thing I've been spying on right now is lap times, and right now the top 3 are all kind of in the same window, about a half a tenth from Gary, and Dan and Matt Wagner, all running 22:36 to 22:42. So those 3 all pretty much in the same zip code, but they're all over a tenth quicker than Yari in fourth on back. So right now it seems like those 3 have a little bit something over the other guys at the moment. But again, that might be just that little bit of clean air helping their cause as well.
I'm trying to watch some of these guys at the bottom part of the top 10 here. We see Casey Pahutsky is really taking the high line everywhere. He's trying to put some rubber down right there against the wall to try and see if maybe some grip forms up there later in the race. But Michael Carrillo behind him was also trying to he's trying a different couple lines right now. It's lost him a little bit of gap to that group of cars up ahead, but sometimes you have to drop back a little bit to see if you can find anything that wasn't working for you initially, and you're like, okay, I'm the 5th car in line here, I can't really make any moves, so let's try different stuff. And right now, as long as you maintain your position later on in the race, you'll find a way to perhaps get a position later on.
Yeah, so speaking of that, Matt Wagner just able to get it by, just caught the tail end of that, though. Dan Murray going to fall back to 3rd behind Matt Wagner. And so right now, like you said, the difficulty of passing right now, our highest climbers have each only gained 2 spots, Matt Wagner, Casey Pahutsky, and Iker Peguero. So right now, those are the ones that have gained the spots at the moment. And so we'll see. Obviously, once Matt settles in a little bit, I'll be curious to see how his lap times compared to Gary. Right now, about 2 seconds off of him. So, and also don't worry about that timing scoring on the left side. Gary's definitely not on pit road. You can see him right there on track. So not sure why that's showing like it is, but yeah. So no worries there. But actually, last time by though, Andrew, identical lap times for the 2 of them, 46 to 46.
It's a matter of who's saving their tires the best. So. Matt Wagner obviously had a little bit of a battle there with Morera to try and get by him for P2. So his tires were a little bit more roasted, whereas you have Gary Lovren with clean air the entire time from pole up here through lap 16, where he's kind of just commanding the field right now. And even from the start, he managed to pull away. So I imagine he's feeling very comfortable right now. He pulled a little bit of gap, and hopefully he can just keep that gap there, and Matt Wagner won't close on him too much.
Yeah, so you can see I was pressing the wrong button there for a second, but you see on the timing scoring on the left side now, showing the lap times right now as he's Casey Pahutsky, though, as we watch that, trying to put a move on Teed there. Teed had drift up a little bit to make sure he avoided some contact potentially, and now going to go for the crossover here out of 2 as they head down the backstretch.
That crossover move is a textbook Milwaukee situation, especially if I was saying before, to focus on the exit. It looks like Pahutsky is doing a lot to throw it into the entry there. And sometimes if you have the right tools set on your car, you can really throw your car down there and try and wear the right rear more, which, as you said, is a little more difficult in your situation. So you may not be so privy to how to get that pass done there. But sometimes you could scare someone off the apex there. And that does work at times, but you run the risk of putting yourself right into the path of another car. So Husky was able to actually do it, but now you see he's back to running that top line again, and he's really trying his best to throw some rubber down there. So we'll see if that works later on in the race.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the top line is where Casey is the happiest right now. You can see almost pretty much running that seam, if you will. Enters above the seam, kind of splits the middle of it, and then kind of gets back to the top and exit. But I was watching right behind these two right here. It was the next battle that we're keeping an eye on. That's Michael Carrillo and Eric Peterson. Eric's trying to get that spot back, and looks like he'll slide jump out of two. Again, the crossover there, you can see Carrillo's peeking to the inside, but I think Eric's going to hang on to this. And yeah, he's going to get to the bottom there and get a good exit out and hang on to that spot. So move Eric back up into the 8th spot ahead of Michael Carrillo.
I thought I mentioned before that Correa was approaching, but he actually might be in a tire-saving mode right now, just because he was at the back of that long train. So it's possible, especially with Peterson able to come up and battle him and take that position so cleanly. Maybe Correa is trying to do a little bit of a tire save and see what his tire wear is like on the first pit stop, to see if it's worth it to try and do that, and then maybe make some moves later on in the stint, in a future stint.
Yeah, I know it's definitely a potential. What we can do right now is, because everybody's kind of spread out a little bit now, so this is a perfect time to run through our field, because we're just about halfway through this fuel run as well. So right now our pole sitter still running in that number 1 spot, and that is Gary Laverne in that number 32 machine. Right behind him is the number 6 of Matt Wagner. Matt started in 4th, now runs in 2nd. Then a little bit back as well is Dan Murrah in that number 26 40 Raceware machine. He is in 3rd after starting on the front row in 2nd position. Then about 2nd and a half back is right there Yari Brupacher in the 49. Started 3rd, currently running in the 4th spot. Same thing, about that 1.4 second margin. Seeing a lot of those right now from these top runners. And then behind him is that 16 of Andrew McMurray, qualified 5th, running in 5th in that, I love the Benson Hedges car, the Formula 1 paint scheme. Works very well on these Indy cars. Then obviously we were just talking about him a second ago. That is Casey Putsky. Right now our highest climber started 9th up into 6th, really working the rim riding here. And I'm watching that car behind him. I think he's been learning from it there, Andrew, because look at Charles T now. He is really running that top side as well in that number 50 machine.
This is one of those parts of the races where you start to realize who's saved their tires and who's used the most tires. And someone like Pahutsky right now has completely run the right side tires down, running that high line consistently. That right front's got to be really working hard to try and turn into the corner, and then the right rear on the exit. So yeah, you mentioned that we're about halfway through the stint right now. So I imagine that a lot of these guys are going to try and stay right where they are, not really do anything too dire to try and make any positions. Just try and stay on the lead lap in case the situation comes where a yellow comes out, that they can stay on the lead lap and go for it on the next green flag run.
Yeah, so right now, I kind of got that conveyor belt of cars looking at the race map right now. So we'll jump to that next car on that conveyor belt, and that is Eric Peterson right now in 8th after starting in 7th. And then behind him, we talked about that pass a little earlier. He got around Michael Carrillo in that 29, the purple 40 Raceware machine. And then we mentioned as well, right now, 2 spots gained, our new driver to the series, the number 09 Bucky's machine, and that is Iker Pagero. Right now running in the top 10. So again, it's a good start for him. Just keep that car clean, try to get all the laps run, get familiar with everybody. I think that's what you want to see if you're the driver of that 09. Then about 2.5 seconds back is William Swenson in the number 69 machine, is currently in 11th, right where he started. And then just under a second back there is the 66 of Elmer Joseph, right now in 12th. Started in 10th, so dropped 2 spots in the Sprite car. And then in his mirror, though, said we're going to get back to the first car we started with, because here comes Gary Laverne creeping in on the picture. And Gary's had nice clean air this whole fuel run here, Andrew, but that's about to go away.
These cars at the back of the field are definitely going to do their best to stay on the lead lap. But unfortunately, their pace is a little bit slower. So Gary now just has to kind of measure where these cars are going ahead of him and try and find the best advantage. But he does have a 2.4 second gap back to Matt Wagner, which has kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit in the last handful of laps or so. But I think he's kept Matt at a very safe distance where he really shouldn't come under threat, at least before the first pit stop.
Yeah, that said, the last time by, Matt was 0.2 of a second quicker. Waiting to see the update this time, about 2.5 tenths quicker. It's a 2290 to 2264. And we'll go and switch that timing screen back from the lap times to the gaps to the drivers. So yeah, so Matt's closing in slowly but surely. Then also another battle we've got though is gonna say Casey's tires might be angry, but he's still doing a good job of working that third lane because he's gotten to Andrew McMurray now, only about 2/10 off here out of four. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you're always going to see the leader immediately start to lose some lap time once they get back in traffic, no matter how slow they are. And that's what we saw with Gary Lovern and Matt Wagner. But I think Gary's already kind of measuring up the back of the field here, and looks like Elmer might be giving him the run there into turn one. Yes, Elmer pulls over. So he's giving Gary the run there. So now Gary just has to worry about William Swenson up ahead. And once the first car passes, it's usually pretty simple for the next car in line and each successive car. So the short track racing conveyor belt, as you mentioned, has now begun, and the multi-class racing has also begun.
Yeah, so right now this is by far the closest battle on track. Got three cars within just a couple tenths of each other, and it's kind of that ebb and flow. Casey gets a really good run, gets really close, but then every so often he'll go maybe either not quite as high, or maybe Andrew runs a little higher, and I think he catches that arrow wash, and it really kind of kills the momentum on the exit, like you talked about, that critical spot. However, I'm going to jump back because I think we might have a pit stop. Oh no, we got a car on the wall, and that is William Swenson, and caution is out. Like you talked about, that Windows potential for yellow could happen, and that's exactly what did happen there. He's going to jump into pit road quickly. Let's see if we can find what happened here, because they were near each other on track.
Bit of a miscommunication, as you'll see once you take a look.
Yeah, so we're watching the 69 here down on the bottom. And as I said, we haven't talked about, but this is a very tricky pit road to enter, and I'm wondering if that may have been. Oh yeah, look how low he is, and yeah, I think I mean, so what's happening there is Elmer's trying to give a lot of room to Matt up top, and then in doing so, unfortunately, just catches the 69 car, and then yeah, from there, William goes up into the outside wall, and I'll say, oh, close there between he and Andrew McMurray. So, as you can see, he waits for it to get safe, then grabs the gear and gets going again. And so, I mean, again, I mean, you don't want to bring out a yellow, but at the same time, I think I like the way that that was done for him. Just saying, you know what, let me make sure everybody's clear before I start rolling again. Even if it does bring out the yellow. And honestly, pretty much, I think, honestly, I don't, other than probably Gary Laverne, I think everybody's going to be pretty happy about this timing of this caution, because they're going to all jump in pit road. But now that pit strategy starts to get a little more questionable here on fuel, I feel like, Andrew.
Yeah, you said that it was about 50 laps, maybe slightly less than that. So this is going to be the time of the race where people are starting to wonder, is there just one more pit stop before the end here? And if you want to save the amount of fuel that you need to save in order to get that done, that takes a little bit of effort. And some of these guys at the back of the field are not worried about fuel. They just want to be away from all the cars that are ahead of them. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a mixed situation, mixed bag going into this next stint here. I think they might be okay with fuel, maybe just a slight stave, as long as they can make it to lap, let's say 78 or so. They should be good to the end. That would make 52 laps. So I probably more like 80 would be safe.
I say, actually, I'm trying to do the math, and actually the big story right now, though, is actually Matt Wagner able to jump Gary through pit road. And I'm looking at the pit stop time, and it was pretty much just the pit lane time. Not sure, maybe Gary had to throw it in reverse a little bit or not, but Matt was about 0.6 of a second quicker, and that was enough for him to jump around him. So lead change on pit road for the number 6 car around the 32. But we'll do real quick here while we have a chance. We'll do a quick yellow because we got to show off our amazing sponsor, 40 Racer. So we'll be right back.
40 Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
All right, lights are back off of the pace car. So again, change in the order now though is going to be Matt Wagner now in the lead in that number 6. And so now Gary, we talked about he had the clean air. He looked like he had really good pace early, but now he's going to have to work a little harder here to try to see if he can get back around that 6 car, if he can do it on track, or if he's going to maybe have to do some strategy calls on that. We're doing the field numbers while we were at break, and field wise, everybody's good to go. Basically, they can definitely make this on one more stop. Say because right now we're good. They can pretty much split it in 44, 45 laps, and of course, otherwise maybe go a little long on this stint and then shorten the second run. But now it's all just depends on where the caution, if one falls and when it does. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's gonna be Matt Wagner leading the field back to green. Pace car is off. He has control of this restart. And he looks like he's going to wait a little bit. Now he's down and away and gets a good little jump. You see Charles Teed, he actually gets a great jump over Casey Putsky. And Casey's going to drop a spot right off the bat.
It looked like Casey kind of hung back a little bit from the start there, which not sure why he was so far back from the pack there. Probably trying to avoid the checkup. But you're right. Charles Teed was not wasting any time. He saw that gap and he immediately was going to go for it. But it looks like Casey's coming right back around him. I don't know if Charles messed up there. Right in the middle of the corner, Husky got that spot back.
So I wonder if that was cold tires potentially for Charles and just wasn't quite having the temperature he was expecting. Maybe had to catch it a little bit. So luckily for Casey, able to get that spot right back. And I think, again, right now is probably the best time to try to get those positions while, like I said, while temperatures are building up, pressure's building up, and kind of get everybody still all packed together, because we saw last time it took about 20, 30 laps and the field started to spread a little bit apart. So we'll have to see how that shakes out a little bit. But another driver again capitalizing on this restart though. That 09 one more time in that Bucky's car though. Now we talked about him going up 2 spots into 10th, 2 more spots now up into that 8th position for that 09.
Yeah, Peguero's definitely been moving forward. I think he's spending a lot of time trying to play with lines as well as what Michael Correa was doing before. But watching Hotsky is just committing to that outside line, and it'll be interesting to see if he's able to make any sort of ground with Yari and Dan up ahead, because I'm getting the feeling, watching how these cars are operating, that the setup is a little bit tight and it's very difficult to get the car to turn. So even though there's not a lot of banking on the high line, you could really throw the car into the corner and just use the extra distance of the track to get the car to rotate there.
Just saw the Eric Peterson try to throttle up there and just didn't have the traction, but amazing job catching, I think, because these aren't cars that you can really slide the back end out very long and be able to catch them, but somehow Peterson had the quick hands to save that car. So really, really good job by Eric. But yeah, you're mentioning Casey still kind of committing to the top side, and he's been getting a lot of pressure from behind from Charles Teed. Also, Gary Laverne's getting a lot of pressure from behind right now from Dan Marrera. And we saw Dan, I believe, that first run too, really quick on those opening laps, but maybe he was getting a little too hot on the tires later on in the run. So yeah, we talked about some drivers maybe being the short run, long run drivers. Wonder if possibly Dan in the 26 might be one of those guys that's more comfortable in the short run of these cars.
Unfortunately, Gary was definitely one of those cars that benefited from all the clean air early, and he had to restart with the dirtier Matt Wagner up ahead of him. And unfortunately, it looks like Matt's begun to pull a little bit of a gap to him, which gives me the indication that the clean air is definitely what you want here. But I think Gary is now in a situation where he is actually he's back in clean air again. So hopefully he gets himself all back together again. But Dan is definitely giving him a run for his money right now.
Yeah, right now we got a couple really tight battles as well. You can see Eric Peterson, he just got back by Iker there in the 09, so move Eric back up in the third. But then right here, this is the gaggle though right now. You see Jari Brupacher now in that fight as well. And I think that is Casey. Yeah, that's Casey getting around Jari. So move him up. And I want to say, I feel like Andrew McMurray was further up. I'm not sure if he dropped back or I think he may have fell actually during the pit stops. But yeah, so right now though, Casey again now up 5 positions. And he can kind of see that daylight he's looking for. I feel like Andrew, he sees Dan, he sees Gary, and then he sees clean air, and he's like, I'm so close here. I feel like that's just going to kind of amp him up even more to try to push harder to get around those two and try to get that clean air.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gary's pace has really come down now. Matt is completely pulling away, and he's pulled the entire field up to him. And that might just be a level of trying to figure, like, getting himself back on his bearings again, or it might just be a case of the pace in the car might have just gone away. He might be on the wrong tools, trying to reset himself from where he is. But you can see that the battle for the podium right now is 6 cars deep, and they're all very, very close to each other.
Yeah, no, this is a great battle. You can see, I mean, they're all right within frame. We'll jump back a little bit because here's another good battle right there with the 09 and the 29. Say Michael tried to make a move, couldn't quite get it. 09 was able to get back around him. So these guys, like I said, it doesn't matter where you are on track. These guys are all battling it out. I'll say jump back up because let's say Teed and Brewpock are going after each other. And right now, to me, it looks like the outside line, that momentum you talked about on the exits, that seems to be the winning position right now. So if you can get that exit speed, which right now seems to be that top side, that seems to be the better line to me right now. Is look at these three though; they are all packed up on each other now.
Yeah, you got to hunt for clean air, but because Pahutsky has passed all these cars on the outside, everybody's trying it, so everybody's going to the outside, which leaves the inside very, very quiet. But again, I mentioned I believe the set tends to look a little bit more understeery than oversteery, so I think it's just natural that these drivers are trying their best to use anything on the right rear possible. So it's interesting to see that nobody's going to the bottom in this pack here because it's wide open.
Yeah, I know that bottom is. I'll say we'll watch from this last car in the pack and just watch how you have one car there, and now you look at that late apex we saw by Gary Laverne, entered high, then really cut that thing down and try to get that good exit. His little bobble by Yari, that's going to let Teed get back to his outside. I say that's the thing right now. Any mistake, these guys are going to try to capitalize.
It wasn't just Teed; it was 3 of those cars in that pack. They're all got a little loose there, so they're definitely playing with their weight jackers here, trying to find the most optimal setting. But yeah, the outside definitely seems to be the strongest run right now, and you can see Teed has now moved on Pahutsky. Pahutsky has ruined those tires on the right side, I believe, and he's really going for the inside, very close there.
Yeah, Teed just got clear there. I think, yeah, it looked like Teed was going to send it pretty much to the next county there on entry, but was able to I think then had to load up more than he was planning to make sure he didn't run into Dan Morera there. But yeah, I think Teed may have found something. We'll see if he sticks on the bottom side or not. No, it looks like he's going to go back top here. And it's almost like you said also, it's a guessing game. You want to go where they're not. And so, but it really looks like that 50's maybe got something now. That car looks a lot more comfortable, and I feel like he's able to be a lot more aggressive with it than earlier. But you're right, though. I think Casey, though, I'm not sure if maybe he had any wall contact or not, or just like I said, maybe just burn that right front off because he has really dropped back now all the way to the 7th.
You definitely have to have some balance if you're doing a very unconventional line, because if it's an unconventional line, it's something that your car is not set up for, and some situation where the tires would start to wear a little bit more will hurt you later in the run, especially if you're teaching everybody else around you what line you're running. That may pay off for them later on in the run. So you can see that Casey is falling back now. I think people have tagged onto his game here, and we see Morera really make a mistake there in turn 2.
Teed had to back out. He went as he basically.
Teed,
yeah, no, I think he went full commit. Pesky contact. So I don't know how those two cars stay pointing the right direction, but that just shows you right now as well just the momentum that is important, like you said, because Teed had a great exit out of 4, dove it underneath there, but we also saw Dan got real quick back on throttle and said, I gotta stay ahead of him, and then Teed kind of got pinned down on the inside line and just lost all the momentum there, which cost him that spot to Andrew McMurray, Yari Brewparker, and almost to Casey Pahutsky as well. So he's got to try to do it all over again once he regroups and try to get back up into that 4th spot.
What I find most interesting about this pack here is that Gary is completely driving his own race, but every single driver behind him has watched what Casey's line was, saw how fast it was, and now we're all just completely swarming Gary. Whereas last stint we saw cars spread out about 6-7 tenths apart. This whole pack is on top of each other, and they're not able to really make any moves. So, unfortunately, Gary has not attended the Casey Pahutsky line party here, and now he's paying the price as everybody behind him is trying their best to see what sort of slick moves they can run behind him to get in line, while Matt Wagner just drives completely off into the distance.
Yeah, I mean, he's got about half a lap at this point in that number 6 car, but right there, that previous turn, though, Andrew McMurray, that inside line looked really good for him, But then the next set of turns, Dan Murrow, he ran low. That gave Andrew the dirty air. And like I said, these guys are just kind of rolling dice. Okay, I think he's going to go here. No, he might go here. And it's a crapshoot as who's going to be where as we just crossed the halfway point in this one. But, I can't look away. Like, again, like, you obviously want to focus on some of the other racing right now, but these guys, badly tooth and nails. Teed and Yari almost get together that too.
I think this is the only race you got on the track right now. This is pretty much where more than half the field is. So we got everyone showcased right here. We got Gary still holding on to second place without any real strong battle so far. You see Gary's taking the conventional line. Like I said, everybody's on the high side behind him. And I believe Casey might have a run here on Charles T, but no, looks like Murray might have the bigger run going into turn 3.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just everybody's almost progressively going higher. You'll see one maybe running almost the second seam, then someone's third seam. Force Andrew McMurray try to go even higher than Dan Murray there on entry. Couldn't get to his outside, and now also though Gary's getting under very extreme pressure, but with that little momentum switch, look at Andrew. He's going to try to dive it in here. We'll see if he can get any exit out of there at a 4, and answer is no. He's going to fall back in line, but not as bad of an exit as I thought. But look at Yari Brubacher. He's right back in there now as well.
This is such a weird Milwaukee race, Gael, if I've ever seen one before. I have not seen this much outside line racing in Milwaukee ever. It's a flat track. There shouldn't be any grip out there whatsoever, but these guys are really finding the fastest pace to be on that almost rim riding on a paperclip shaped oval.
Yeah, this is very intriguing. And honestly, what we had in the first run, that 1.5 second gap between most of the cars, that's what I kind of expected to see a lot of, just because again the air wash, the dirty air. But man, whatever adjustments they made after that first run in the car, and maybe the way they kind of warmed their tires up, getting up to speed those first couple laps. Oh man, I'm watching Andrew almost into the back there of Dan Murray on the entry of turn 1. But yeah, I mean, this has turned into pretty much a super speedway, just pack race, the way these guys are going after each other.
I'm completely shocked that Gary Lovren, at the pace he has, that is still been able to hold on to second place. There's not even really been a close matchup between Dan and Gary. I'm sure that this whole entire pack is like, come on guys, we have to move forward. We know we're faster than this. We're all going to wind up laps soon, but Gary is holding his own up there in second place and just running the conventional Milwaukee line, whereas other cars behind are kind of running too wide and able to kind of shift and mix around a little bit. It's nothing like I've ever seen at a track like this before.
Yeah, no, this is one of those things where honestly the two safest places are probably where Gary is, and now probably where Casey Putsky is, because just you either want to be leading this pack or you want to be behind it where you got some wiggle room to react in case somebody tries to make a pass that doesn't stick. Because right now, like I said, I mean, any little bobble, any mistake, either car to car or just getting on the gas too soon. But actually, here's the move now. Finally, Dan Murray's got to the outside. We'll see if he can complete the pass, and it looks like he will. Yeah, pretty easily here. So now Dan's going to have the clean air, and so this is really the first time on old tires now for Gary that he's had to kind of endure this. And so I'll be curious to see what kind of lap times now Dan is able to put out compared to Matt Wagner. But yeah, like you said, though, I mean, Matt's got a half-second lead easily, because right now he's got 13 seconds of a lead, and we're running 22-second laps. So he's, like you said, he's way ahead. And unfortunately, yeah, whatever was working for Gary at the beginning, it's gone from him now, this run.
Gary has not gotten the memo yet. He's getting swallowed up by every single car in this pack that's been trying to race too wide the whole way around. So another thing we got to think about is that the pit stop is coming up very soon. We were so enthralled with the racing that we didn't realize that we're about 5 laps from making it to the end. So I wonder if someone like Gary might try and come in on new tires and try and claw back some of that distance that he lost, or that advantage that he lost while racing up in second place.
Yeah, or even honestly, maybe just go the opposite route and say, you know what, I'm going to back my pace down. I'm just going to save every drop of fuel and maybe try to catch these guys when they all make their pit stops under green, just to try to do something different at this point, because I've been looking at lap times and there's not a lot of drop off right now. I think the fastest lap, I'm looking on the drivers, and I think it was in the 22:30s or so. And there's still drivers in the 22:50s right now. So there is not much tire fall off. Even when you can tell these guys are struggling, and it might be that combo of new tires versus the weight loss of the cars with the fuel burning off. So right now, yeah, I mean, Andrew McMurray just ran his fastest lap of the race that last time by in that 16 car. So yeah, this track is not falling off right now.
I find that to be very interesting based on the lines that these guys are running. But yeah, you're right. I'm looking at Matt Wagner's times, and he's running 3s, 4s, and 5s for the most part, which is the same lap times that are the fastest lap of the race. So I do find that very interesting that the tire fall off has really not been as severe as you would expect. But that also has to do with the fact that this car is definitely set up slightly a little bit more tight and probably a little bit more balanced, where it's not so much raw speed. It's a little bit more based on evenly trying to wear the tires and maybe not wear them as strong.
Yeah, and it definitely seems to be that way. And also it may have just been the same thing that we talked about. Maybe drivers adjusted after that first run, said, hey, we were way too aggressive on that first run. We were, you pit, you see what your tire wear was, left front, right front, and kind of do that comparison. And they may have seen, you know what, we got to back it down a little bit to kick things off, as we watched Casey try to get around Eric. Can't quite do it. Right now, this is a great three-way battle right here, though, between Dan, Andrew, and Charles. Or sorry, Andrew, Charles, and Yari. Apologies. These three are right on top of each other. And yeah, I think honestly, if I'm anyone other than Matt Wagner, I just want to run this thing as far as I can, because, like we said, not a lot of fall off. And we just saw earlier in the first run, it's very easy to make a mistake, either yourself or with somebody around you getting in and out of pit road. So if I'm one of these drivers, I'm going to try to make that fuel window work. But as I say that, Charles Teed, he's going to do the gamble like you said. He's going to hit pit road here at 47 to go, and he's going to drop a lap immediately, because here comes Matt Wagner across start-finish line now. Again, that just shows the lead he's got. So we'll see. Now this is where that window is going to open for all these drivers.
Regardless, I think we're going to see pit stops from the entire field in the next 5-6 laps or so, because that is just based on when we went back green again. We went back green around lap 40 or 40, I believe. So we're on 43 laps in the stint right now. So within the next 5 or 6 laps, we're going to see everybody down pit road, regardless of trying to strategize to stay out late or not.
Now it looks like Teed is back out, and it looks like just the one lap down. So that's good for these guys to realize too, okay, we can make a green flag pit stop. We won't go 2 laps down, and that'll definitely maybe adjust some potential strategies for guys that may be interested in short pitting. As we say, that leader is in now, Matt Wagner in the 6. So say he went, like you said, he went from lap 38 to now we're at lap 87. So just under that 50 mark, which will now promote Dan Marrera in the 26 to the lead. And so again, this is where now probably starting to sweat a little bit of bullets here to hope that this thing goes around nice and clean. But actually, though, Matt's already down and away here, so he's going to safely come out without losing a lap in that 6 car. So that's also a very big thing for him. Doesn't have to worry about that wave around.
Yeah, it's when you're leading by half of a track, it's very hard to go down a lap, because it's about a lap and a half of green flag track time. So if you're already half lap down, you're going to come out just ahead of the rest of the pack, and you're going to have fresher tires. So when you have that much of a lead, you have very little risk of going a lap down.
No, yeah, you're definitely right there. And got a long stop for Michael Carrillo, wondering if he may have got caught speeding on entry. You see Dan Marrera there, Yari Brupacher, Eric Peterson, Gary Laverne, pretty much the whole crew now. The only one that didn't pit on that run with these guys is Casey Putsky. He's kind of going for that overcut, if you will. Try to run long, see if maybe he can jump these guys in pit road, especially if they all come in together. You kind of have to balance that a little bit. And say he's going to run the high line all the way to pit road entry here. And now he's going to get on the brakes. And I believe this will now complete our pit stop cycle under a green flag stop. So the other thing that this does is it leaves all these drivers with one set of tires remaining in the race. So you see Casey very careful entering pit road. I think actually had to maybe get around the 66 car just to be safe. But yeah, I can tell you I was speeding on pit road for Michael Carrillo with 48 seconds stationary on pit road. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if this short or the long run is going to work for Casey, because Eric Peterson's just about to go by there, as is Andrew McMurray. So yeah, so unfortunately did not go to plan for him. But honestly, though, the one that kind of stings the most for me is right there behind him. Gary Laverne had the pole, was leading all those laps, and just unfortunately got jumped during the pit stops, and it just seemed like the race kind of just unraveled for him after that point. So we'll see. But what we do have is a really good battle now for that runner-up spot. Charles T. Dan Marrero, those two are just a couple tenths apart here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it really fell apart for Gary Laverne. Dan got by him. Once Marrero got by him there, because he kind of dropped like a stone. So I think he was really trying to get some sort of advantage and really hang on for that second place spot, while the rest of the guys behind him all kind of found something a little bit different that was a little faster. All back to the dirty air. It was no match for him. So unfortunate for Gary there that he wasn't part of the party, as I mentioned before, but sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes you realize that someone found something a little bit better than you behind you, and next thing you know, you fall back. So a lesson learned there for sure. But you're right. We have this big podium battle here with Dan and Charles. I think that's pretty much going to set the podium for now if things stay green, because as we see, Jari Brubacher is about 3 seconds back.
Yeah, the only hope right now for Jari is if they keep fighting like they are, they're probably going to slow each other down, and that's going to let him pull back up to them. The other thing is he does have about 5 lap fresher tires than Charles Teed, but like we mentioned earlier, tires probably not going to be too critical because we saw there was minimal lap time drop. But the crazy part that I'm looking at right now is just where we are with these drivers on track. We were talking earlier about Casey making gains all the way up to about the 4th spot, even 3rd, I want to say. Gary Laverne leading and then being 2nd spot for so long. They are not even half a straightaway ahead of Matt Wagner. Here they are entering turn 1. There's Matt right behind them, just a couple seconds back. So I think if you're Matt, you're probably just kind of, I don't want to say throwing the anchor, but you're not going to put any extra pressure on them right now. You've got 12 seconds over. Oh, as I said, though, no caution yet. Oh my goodness. Yep, there's a caution, Eric Peterson.
One, yeah.
And that is going to change the complexion of this race. He's going to try to grab this car back into gear. And it was a really good battle between he and Andrick McMurray. And I think, unfortunately, we talked about little potential mistakes. I think that's what we're going to see here. You see Andrew to his inside entering turn 3. And we'll slow it down here. And I'm going to say probably just the 16 car gets probably a little tight here on exit. And they kind of just honestly just meet in the middle.
Each other, yeah.
Yeah, they're going for the same real estate there. And I'll say in that situation, the car on the outside is always going to kind of come off worse for wear. And so, unfortunately, that puts Eric into the outside wall. However, again, was able to grab a gear, get going again. And I believe, he's going to try to crab this thing to pit road. I believe pit road may not be open this time. I think they may have had to go around to catch the pace car here. But hell of an effort here by Peterson. There you go. So he's going to get in, get the fast repair, and get back out here. But actually, I see Andrew McMurray, the other car involved in that. He's going to hit pit road. But I think it's just what we said. It doesn't seem like tires are as critical as we might be thinking. So at that point, why risk it? So what I can tell you, though, is we just got our wave round car. That is the 09 here of Iker Peguero. So he's going to still be in 8th spot, but now he gets that free wave round right back onto the lead lap here. And I'll say he's got the option, tires, no tires at this point under the caution. But like I said, I don't think the tires are making that big of a difference. But this is great for him because, like I said, he's going to be right back into this lead lap battle, which right now I believe includes 8 cars. Unfortunately, Eric Peterson fell 2 laps down into that 9th spot. Michael Carrillo is 3 down with that pit penalty in 10th. And then Elmer Joseph actually still sitting on pit road. Actually, coming back to pit road, I should say. He is 4 down in 11th. So before we get to dash finish, let's do one more break here, and we'll get another ad from our wonderful sponsor, 4D Racewear. Stay tuned.
4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
right, lights are off of the pace car. So we were focusing on our 4D Raceware cars there. We saw Dan Morera and Michael Carrillo. And so now back to another restart here. Andrew, going to be 30 to go on this one. Fuel again out of the question. Not a lot of tire strategy. I think the ones that pitted were some of those that were either involved in the incident or just far enough back. So Andrew McMurray, Gary Laverne, they both did hit pit road. Although for Gary, it was about a 5-second stop. So that says no tires for me. I'm wondering if maybe needed a little bit more fuel, or I'm not 100% sure. But either way, he was on pit road. So not a lot of change there. The big thing right now is going to be that purple car. He is a lap or more down. And you can see, I think he's already kind of staggering over to the left. I think he wants to go ahead and let his teammate on by and let the leaders just race it out here as well. But again, Matt Wagner is our control car. And you can see him kind of staggering over, said, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this. And Matt Wagner is going to drop the hammer. He is down and away as we get back on here, 30 to go.
I imagine Matt Wagner is going to start to pull a little bit of a gap here, just as he kind of did before. But unfortunately, we have Morera fighting with him and not Gary Laverne, where he might lose so much pace that he would get away as much. But we'll see if Dan is able to keep up, or if he manages to fall into the same trap that Laverne fell into before. But yeah, we see Carrillo's now pulled over. I personally don't understand these folks that stay out and then decide to pull left on the restart. Myself, it just, if you want to get out of the way, just pull down the pits with one to go, as far as I'm concerned, because it just causes more confusion for those that are actually trying to race for the lead lap.
Yeah, and it's obviously a lot of different rules for the open wheel versus stock car side of things. So usually when you're a lap down, you automatically get moved to the back. However, IndyCar, I think it's until 10 to go where you get pushed back. So otherwise you stay in the position you're at. So, but yeah, I was going to mention though for Dan is he was really quick on the short runs. We felt like early on in the run, the last two restarts. So I'm curious to see if he has anything for Matt. But as I say that, Matt just ran the fastest lap of the race and was 0.2 of a second quicker than anybody else in the field. And I think was a 1/10 and a half better than the next fastest lap throughout the course of this race. So Matt's definitely got something under his foot there to be able to kind of pull that thing back out like he did. So like I said, it's kind of already gone back similar to prior to the caution. Charles T. Danmero, this is the podium battle for second and third. They've already got a little gap on Jari Brubacher. And then say everybody else has got that half-second gap between each other. So right now, this is definitely the battle to keep an eye on here.
These guys in the bottom part of the top five here still using the Casey Bahutsky wall riding line, really trying to find something on that outside line, but I don't think that's going to really play too much of an effect for the leader, as Matt Wagner has still managed to pull a gap, and he's over a second ahead of Morera and T. But this battle for second is not over yet, because Teed is hungry for a much better finish than he's gotten recently.
Yeah, no, and I think Teed is thinking right now, is like, man, if I could get around Dan, I might have something for Matt, because this last time by, Dan and Matt ran identical laps. Teed was only 500ths off. The lap before that, Teed was actually the quickest car on track. So there is a little bit of, like I said, Matt had that really big lap after the restart. But now, let's say they've kind of started settling into very similar lap times once more. But it just really depends on what kind of dirty air Charles gets behind Dan. And so that's kind of been bouncing around. But we're going to jump a little further up, because Gary Laverne's trying to make a late charge back towards the front here on the inside line. He gets around Casey Bahutsky. And that car looks like it did earlier to me, Andrew. I'm wondering if maybe something happened during the pit stop cycle or something. Maybe some damage he didn't realize, because this car looks more like it did at the beginning. You can see just, it seems like he's a lot quicker, a lot sportier than he was after that pit stop.
I also wonder if he might have been driving in his mirrors a lot more during that second stint, once he saw more and more cars appearing in his mirror, and that might have caused him to perhaps drive a little bit more erratic. Not erratic in a sense of not sure where he's going, but erratic in the sense of like trying to desperately try and find better lines. And sometimes when you try and find ways to be faster, you make yourself slower. So now that he has people to chase, I think you're right. I think he's managed to find some more pace back in the car, and he wants to get right back to where he began the race from.
Man, right now, just listening to that throttle input of Charles Teed, and you can hear him just kind of just trying to feel, does the car have the grip I want? Is it ready? Is it ready? He'll kind of egg it a little bit, and it can't quite stick, and he'll wait, and then he'll throttle back up again. So he is trying to keep that momentum built up on the top side to sneak around Dan Morera. But I've seen Dan noticing the momentum he's been getting up top. Oh my goodness, I don't think he could put a piece of paper there between he and the wall. But I've been watching Dan. He's been kind of creeping up a little higher, and look how deep Teed is sending it on entry as well. He's doing everything in his power here to try to see if he can find a way. Now he's going to try to get that good exit down to the inside. Can he make it stick? He's going to try to slide. Oh, that's a contact.
Oh, no.
No caution yet. Caution is now out. Yeah, he tried to see if he could clear in front of him. Unfortunately, Dan tried to hustle back up there. Say those two made contact. Again, the outside car getting the worst of it, though. And that's going to bring our yellow back out with 17 to go. And we saw it as it was happening. And, I mean, I think that was it's that risk versus reward. Charles was like, I got to find a way around this guy. And it almost worked.
Yeah, that looked like a full send move to me. Teed managed to do it on Pahutsky earlier, and another car. And, you know, that outside line just is so strong that I believe that Teed thought that he had him cleared, but unfortunately Morera held nicely around the outside. But this, I hate to say it, but this is another unfortunate situation where Dan is just the victim of another incident that he really wasn't expecting to happen to him.
No, it's a tough break. And I said, I think it's also that just you're like, if I can get around this guy, I think I have the pace to try to win this race. And unfortunately, that's, I think, what we saw there. And yeah, like I said, just that's the second one now where Eric Peterson was the one earlier with the contact. And actually, speaking of which, Eric's going to get one of those two back. So he's going to come back to one lap down now in that 36 car. Also, pit stop wise, nobody hit pit road. They're just like, yeah, we're good. I think track position obviously too critical here with we're going to restart under 15 to go. So the question, of course, too, is does Charles maybe have a little bit of right rear damage potentially from that contact? I say we can try to spy a little bit on Henge's right rear wheel. Let's take a closer look, see if we can see anything there.
Yeah, it looked like it was more of a right rear to a left front situation there. So if it was wheel-to-wheel contact, then obviously not really much body damage will happen, but I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get away with that one. Never say if he winds up top three, he's definitely you'll know in the interview he's going to not be happy about getting at that position that way. But I mean that's part of racing. I'd say you'll be aggressive and you'll kind of take those gambles, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Unfortunately, in this case, they didn't. Looks like Dan's actually retired from the event in the 26, which is a shame because he had a great run going just regardless. I mean, he was really going after it there. So he's not going to get the result he was hoping for. But we still do have 7 cars still on the lead lap here. Eric Peterson's now 1 down. So again, selfishly, he's probably hoping for maybe a quick mistake from somebody to get him back onto that lead lap. But now it's back to the restarts here. You gotta who can get the right combination early, get the tires back where they need to be, and make those right adjustments. Because I mean, the other thing we gotta mention, Gary Laverne, he's back up to 4th after all this.
Another thing we want to talk about is you were mentioning that Teed might have had the pace to pass Matt as he was trying to pass Dan Morera there. So as long as he has no damage, there is a chance that Teed might have something that Matt Wagner is not ready for.
So now as a racer, how do you put that incident behind you if you're Charles Teed? And it's like, that happens. I hate that it happened, but my car's good. I still have a race to try to go win. I want to try to get that championship, get all the points I can. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very hard to do something like that, especially if you feel like that it may have been your fault, but it could have been an incident. So at least there's this caution period to kind of try and process it in your head and then go out there once the bike drops, because once the visor goes down, it's racing. So
and it's true.
Worry about the incident later.
Yeah, because he doesn't have he just sees and feels what happened to him in the car. He doesn't see what we saw. So yeah, it's a great point too. So that said, we're gonna go back to green here, Andrew. 13 to go at the line. Matt Wagner's had the lead since the first caution pit stop. Can he hang on to it for 13 more laps here? Waiting for him to make the call. and he is down and away. 13 to go as we head back into one.
Looks like Teed is staying very close to Wagner here, which is different from how the last restarts were. So he's already kind of playing around the outside line there. And I think he's going to have a bit of a draft here going to end the first lap.
Yeah, it's a great initial start there by T to try to keep that pressure on Matt. And I think right now, that initial start, that's what you got to do is you just got to stay kind of big in the mirror. Keep Matt thinking, okay, what lane is he taking that I'm not taking? Do I need to adjust my line? Because maybe if Matt hasn't run that top side before, he's going to try it. He may not hit it quite right, and that could open the door for Charles Teed. And yeah, he looks like he's staying full committed to that outside line. So 11 to go here, and right now Teed's been gaining on him little by little here.
I think that the outside line works very, very effectively at the exit of middle of turn 1, exit of 2, but down in 3 and 4, you kind of want to stay off that wall a little bit.
But look at this. He is right to the rear wing. Does Matt react? No. Matt stays on the bottom. Teed's going to try to see if he can get it built up. Nope. Couldn't quite do. You hear him pedal back out of it.
It's not as effective in turn 3 and 4 as it is in 1 and 2. I'm not sure if it has something to do with that pavement type down there at turn 1. I want to run something a little bit lower in turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, it does seem like you can kind of get it working in 1 and 2 a little better than 3 and 4. But yeah, I mean, at this point, he's going to be full commit to that outside line. Looking at say a couple laps ago, he ran the fastest lap of the race, and actually once again here he just ran once more the fastest lap of the race. He's broke the 21-second barrier, and he is right back on that rear wing.
He's got to try and plant something on the inside of 3 and 4. I think if he wants to make this work, because I'm not sure if he's going to get the as Matt has a bobble there at the exit of 4, and Teed has a little bit of run the outside of turn 1. I think he might have something here on the exit of 2.
So he's got to try to stay to his outside. He's going to get to his outside and hang on to it. Momentum goes to Teed. Teed's going to take the lead here with 8 to go.
Looks like we're mostly single file at most of the back of the top 10 here. So this really is the battle right now, is for P1 for the win.
So yeah, so right now if you're Teed, I think you do what's been working for you, right? You stay on the top side. You keep that momentum built up. And if Matt's going to have to try to pass you, he's going to have to try to do it on the bottom. You don't change what you do, right?
You don't change what you do at all. I think the bottom line in 3 and 4 is effective. I don't think it's holding as much water as in 1 and 2, but I think Matt needs to throw it up a little bit closer to the middle line in 1 and 2 if he's going to try and have any exit speed exiting 2 in order to have a run down to 3 and 4.
Oh, big slide there. I saw that just at the corner of the angle. Saw a big slide out of the 6 car. So he's doing what he can, but
with his tools, he's playing with everything possible. He has no idea where Teed has come from, because he has dominated this whole race, and suddenly someone passes him on the outside of Milwaukee, which is mostly unheard of if you've raced around these parts very often.
Yeah, saying also a good battle here for just inside the top 5. Casey Putsky, Gary Laverne, they're right on top of each other here too, as we are 5 to go, coming to 4 to go. I said we'll jump back up front, obviously, but right now this is the closest battle on track. And I'll say, like you said, and I think you're spot on there as well, Andrew, is Teed's been in the thick of this all race long. He's had to make adjustments, find the lines. We saw him working the bottom early, then found the top late. Like I said, unfortunately had that contact with Dan. But like I said, Matt, he qualified, I believe, in 4th, got up to the top 2 pretty quickly, and then got the lead after that pit stop. And then from then on, I mean, he's just had the clean air. And so, like you said, he didn't have to make any adjustments to the car, didn't need to see what lanes were better than the other, and just stayed committed to the inside line, and Teed's capitalized on that one. And right now, barring any mistakes, though, I say Teed's gonna get this one here late. And I say, again, after talking to him pre-race, I think he's gonna be very happy with this one, because I heard a very different Charles Teed in practice than what I'm seeing in the race.
Yeah, I'm watching these guys here at the back part of the top 5, like you were mentioning, and they're getting as close to that wall as possible. McMurray kissed the wall twice on the last lap, and I think he's trying to have some fun with Husky right now. They're both just kind of rim riding here, but yeah, I think Teed managed to find the cheat code here to get his way up front that perhaps both Gary Lovern and Matt Wagner were not expecting, as they both had early runs in this race and were pulling away handily, but there was something a little bit more to this.
As it comes out of forward, flag is out. Charles Teed will win it here at Milwaukee. Matt Wagner is going to bring home second. Yari Brewpacker just going to hang on and drag race there at the end between Casey and Andrew. And I think it may have been Casey holding on to that spot. That, like you said, they were going after each other. You got, unfortunately, Eric Peterson. Well, that might be a frustration crash there post race. But man, what a recovery by Charles Teed there. Like I said, to find the car where he wanted to go and get what he had to do to get the win there. Say we're going to have a big range of emotions, even just from him on both ends of obviously getting the win, but then obviously the contact. Matt Wagner is going to be a tough interview. I know he's going to be gutted, but I want to go back as well. I want to watch this battle one more time between Casey and Andrew, because that looked like it was a really good run to the line here. So we'll pick up the pace here. And we'll see just how close it was between the two of them, because Andrew got to the bottom. Casey, shockingly, was running the top. And then the drag race to the line here. And there was not much between them here. It's about a wing. Let me get a better angle here. Yeah, there you go. Pretty much the nose cone, I would say, with Casey over Andrew there. So really fun finish for those two guys. And yeah, that was a hard fought one for all those guys. So what we will do, though, before we get to our interviews, we'll pull up our final results for tonight's event, as it will be Charles Teed over Matt Wagner. Yari Brewpacker grabbing a podium here tonight. Gary Laverne did a great job to recover all the way back up into fourth. I say Casey Bahutsky also kind of an up and down day, but I'd say finishing more towards the top there, getting that top 5 over Andrew McMurray in sixth. In my opinion, a great initial start for Iker Pagetto, able to grab that 7th spot, stay on the lead lap as well, stayed out of trouble. I don't think that car had any dramas with anybody else throughout the race, and I think that's job one. And unfortunately, the contact Eric Peterson earlier, that kept him 1 down. Michael Carrillo 3 down with that pit penalty. Elmer Joseph 4 down. And unfortunately, Dan Mara, that contact that we saw earlier with he and T, dropped him to 11th after retiring. And then as well, early retirement for William Swenson in the 12th position. So now, let's go hunt some drivers down. And we will start our hunting with a Yari Brewpacker. And let's see, which way do I gotta go? There's Yari. All right, so Andrew, we're gonna pull Mr. Yari Brewpacker in. Started third, finished third, but I think it was obviously anything but a straightforward race for you, Yari. But I think for me, I gotta. My focus is that run towards the end where it was like 6 of you just in a blanket. You guys are just going tooth and nail, running the top side, running the bottom side, just taking all the momentum you could when you had it. I mean, how intense was that for that section of the race?
Yeah, that was quite wild. It was almost like a pack race for a while there, for like maybe 30 laps or something. Like we were still side by side, and it was really stressful because like I'm also not used to racing like this at this track. So it was fun though. But once we got separated, it was very difficult to make a move. Dirty air was really strong. So yeah, just it was all about finding the clean air and maybe giving the guy behind a little bit of dirty air onto his nose.
Yeah, Yari, honestly, I don't really know what I could ask you. You had a pretty quiet race for the most part, just trying to hang on there. So what did you find was the most difficult portion of the race? Was there any really deep tire wear? Was it really trying to find some clean air? Like what did you find was the easiest or the hardest thing to get you forward in this race today?
Yeah, I think the tires held on pretty well, especially like if you weren't racing too hard in the beginning, and maybe if you didn't use the inside line all the time. It wasn't that. I think I had like 80% tire wear at the end of the stint, so it was all right. But I think I really had a quiet race. Like apart from that pack race moment there, it was really more or less me by myself. But yeah, just try to stay in the position if something would open up that I could gained some spots, and I think I was in P6 at some point, and after the first pit stop, I gained some positions, and yeah, I just hoped I could maybe gain a bit more in the pit stops, but there were many cautions, so I had to restore to on track action.
It's kind of remarkable, really, that I'm still kind of shocked at the lack of tire wear at a track like Milwaukee, where the right front usually just gets burned to a crisp here. So I think whatever setup you guys were running out here on track tonight must have been quite tight and very balanced in such a way that tire wear really wasn't the factor here, which again is very unlike a Milwaukee race.
Definitely, it was definitely not a typical Milwaukee race. I think you almost had to throw the car a little bit in to get it to rotate. It was definitely more on the tight side, but I guess that also made it possible to use the inside line at some point. So I guess that's a bonus. Usually, it's just the top line once the tires heat up.
Yeah, it was a wild one. Saying, like I said, while it seemed like it was a calm race for you, obviously I'm sure it was anything, but yeah, I mean, you did a great job tonight, Yari. Like I said, keeping that car in a great spot throughout the course of the race and having a chance at there at the end. So, like I said, even before the yellow, you were right there in that third and fourth spot. So, great job all throughout the night tonight, starting third, finishing third. Definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that podium tonight.
Yeah, thanks to everyone racing, to everyone watching, and yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting.
Well, we appreciate it, sir. We'll let you go enjoy this one. So have a wonderful evening. Hope have fun watching you, and look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. And say enjoy the break next week, sir.
Thank you, and have a nice evening as well, guys.
All right, that was Yari Brewpacker in the number 49, getting our third spot. Now we're gonna have to jump up one more spot, and it's probably not gonna be a happy runner-up finish, but I feel like we're probably gonna ask the same question on this one, Andrew. So I'm gonna let you lead off with your question, and see if I was gonna step over you like I like to do. Or he may have stepped away. So I'm gonna step over.
I'm here. Sorry, hit the wrong button.
No worries.
Hi, Matt. Okay, so let's break this down for you, and we'll summarize this real fast. You started the race, you passed a couple cars, you went to the second stint, you gained a half a track length, thought you were sitting pretty and can cruise to a finish, and suddenly you have Charles Teat all over your rear wing, and thinking, oh, I could hold them off, and eventually you can't. So take it from there. Let's go through your roller coaster of emotions.
Thanks for the
Cliff notes.
yeah, thanks. So what I really last time we raced here, I think it was Eckert that won. Was it? Am I correct? Was Ralphie Eckert the winner? And he ran the top line, and I thought about defending low, and then all of a sudden I see him running high because I haven't seen him all race because I've been out in the by myself and I haven't watched everybody race and how they race, and then I see him get to my mirror and he is running the top line. I never thought about blocking the top and running the top, so I didn't know that was the preferred line. And before then, I see all the lap times he was kicking off. I was like, "Geez, holy crap! He is just burning them down." I made the wrong decision to block the bottom. I thought you'd run there. Other than that, it is what it is. I guess I have to take second place. There's nothing shame for second place. A win's a win. Wins are not easy, no matter how slim or how big the fields are. Uh, it is what, like I said, just it is what it is.
Matt, I actually, as you were describing that, I really feel for you, in such a way that if I were in your spot and I thought that the optimal line was to run the line that you're running, and you could easily hold off someone that's running that same optimal line, then someone comes up behind you and is running something completely different that you never even really considered. Especially, and I said this many times during the broadcast, that I could not believe at a flat track like Milwaukee, the outside line was significantly faster than the optimal shortest way around the track line, because that's typically how you race a Milwaukee track. Is you try and apex late, or try and find something that's a little
Yeah,
bit different
that's what
than
I
those
was.
around you. So
Yeah,
I actually don't don't fault you for doing anything wrong in this race, because you were doing something that was very traditional for a track like this. So it was a little strange that that untraditional line was working just fine. So yeah, if you have any further comments on that, go for it.
no, it's just it was just amazing the way he did it. And um, he told me the settings after the race, and I was like, wow, okay, that's out of the ordinary. So I never thought I'd go that high in a jacker. Well, I guess it kind of make a little sense, but not really. So we raced here back in the DW12. It was about a couple years ago, Andrew, when we did in Lionheart. Uh, the bottom line was the preferred line, and that's where I would try to block. Would run the line, feed him air, make his life a horrible hell, and it didn't work out for me. What can you do?
No, it's yeah. I mean, it's a tough spot to be honest. It's one of those things where it wound up being a detriment, if you will, to have the clean air. And I mean, again, just to be able to run the pace you're running in that clean air, I mean, obviously then everything's looking, and you're seeing the field get smaller and smaller, and then you don't see them at all anymore because you've got half a lap on them. And yeah, and like we're saying with Teton, you're talking about the settings is because you didn't have all of that to fight with and to be able to make those adjustments. Like, oh, I need to do
Right.
something different. So it's almost it's a tough spot to be in, but yeah, as it was like Andrew and I were saying, like you guys know this track way better than I do with these cars, and but yeah, I mean this thing raced like a speedway race from second to about seventh, I want to say, for a good chunk of that race. It was what when you go back and look, it was wild. But yeah, like I said, I mean,
Hopefully,
it's a tough
hopefully it was a
one.
lot of passing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut you
no, no,
off.
you're good. No, it was. I mean, yeah, it was very exciting. That second run, Gary and Yari and Teed and Eric. I mean, it was Dan. I mean, it was yeah.
Everyone.
It felt
That's
like we
that's
were at
good.
a big track, just the way they were
That's good. That's
ducking
good.
and diving, and yeah, so you'll enjoy it. But man, again, like I know, obviously not the result you want, but still a hell of a job
I'm
though
not.
to
I'm
do
not
what you
mad.
did.
I'm not mad at all. It takes a lot to build this league, and take care of it, and see someone else win. That's fine by me. That makes me happy. You just ordeal. That's what I mean. It's just heartwarming. Wins will come for me, but they'll be like, "Oh God, you made the setup. You won the race." Like, no, that's typically not the way it goes. And there are guys faster than me who wins races. Ask the guy who won the championship last year.
Yeah, nah, I wouldn't worry too much about that one. But like I said, a great job, and yeah, definitely appreciate all the time and effort you put on for the series to set up the races, make sure the setups are good for them, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. So before we let you go, though, definitely gotta give you the floor. Any thanks and shouts for that runner up here tonight.
All right, I'd like to thank you guys in the broadcast. You too, Andrew. You're like I said, you're spot on about everything. I like your commentary, pretty awesome. Gael, spot on is perfect. Gotta thank my guys over at TWR. Love you guys. And Area 51, they put on a show for everybody here, and the broadcast you do is it's truly amazing. I am really looking forward to the changes that are coming next year. I can't spill the beans yet. I probably will do it like on the broadcast side. Probably the last race of the season. I probably would. So you guys take care and stay safe and stay cool.
Yeah, I say don't pull a Christopher Bell. You'll get in trouble there. So, but yeah, great job though tonight, Matt, and look forward to seeing you on track here in a couple more weeks' time. So, and enjoy the off week.
I got what you're saying there. Thanks.
All right, that leaves us one last guy to talk to, and that is going to be a very happy Charles Teed in that number 50 machine. So we're going to drag him on over. And like I said at the beginning, Andrew, it's probably going to be a very mixed range of emotions because, I mean, just the run you had was incredible from talking to you pre-race, Teed, to what you had at the end there with the pace. I mean, that's a full 180. I mean, if I've ever seen one, I mean, you and Peterson are working hard to like, okay, I tried this, okay, you tried this, and I mean, and what, at least what I think Andrew as well is you being in the thick of all that chaos for pretty much that whole race. I think is what allowed you to finally find that magic combo to get that car to do what it needed to do.
Yep, absolutely. I think I have to start with like I don't know exactly what happened with Dan there. Like I feel sick to my stomach with that. I was in map 5 and I had so much pace even in map 5 trying to save fuel to get to the end. And the car just started for that one time it washed so far up. I was out of the throttle, turned. I thought when I'm looking at the replay, it looks like I was ahead of him. I wish he would have just lifted a little bit so we didn't have contact. But I feel the last person in the field I want to hit is Dan. I just he's such a great dude. He's been trying to get a good result. I would have almost rathered he got a W than I did. No, and I actually would have rathered he did. I feel really sick about it. But where that race was won for me, Casey passed me early in the race, right around the rim. And I was like, how did he do that? So I then moved up there and started playing with the tools, and it took half the race, exactly to your point, to figure it out. And it was really almost the only way to pass or to do a slide job off the corner on someone and get them to lift. And I wasn't even trying to slide job him that time. I probably would have in 4 or 5 laps with a deeper run, but I was really just trying to set him up to get him to move down. So it's super unfortunate with Dan, but that car was on fucking rails at the end.
Yeah, so I guess you kind of answered my question that I was going to ask you about how long did it take you to figure out that top line, but I'm sure you've raced. I almost said Michigan. I don't know why. You almost raced Milwaukee many times,
Yeah.
and have you ever done a race like this where the
No.
top line is the faster line? Because
No.
I just spent a lot of time with Matt trying to come up with a time where it seemed like the wall riding was the faster line, and I can't come up with anything. So
I couldn't either. I've probably raced here 25, 30 times, I'm guessing, and I never have seen anyone do anything other than maybe one car width up and late apexing, but running the whole top, it was so much faster. And the problem was Casey, he got me on one restart. So then he was showing it to other people before I could, and then people were moving up and blocking it by running the rail. So they weren't going in as deep as I was. I had adjusted the brake bias to make it rotate even more. So I was tinkering the entire race, and Matt really screwed up to move down to the bottom because then it was lights out for him. But yeah, I was very, very fortunate.
it's interesting you say that because on the flip side, you had Gary in second place in the second stint, unable to be passed no matter what line everyone was running. So yeah, it was definitely one of those kind of weird situations where it almost looked like a super speedway race, like Gael mentioned a couple times before at Milwaukee, which is a track you don't typically see that kind of
Yeah.
thing. In the first stint, you saw everyone kind of spread out about 6-7 tenths apart, and then the second stint was like all bets are off. Let's just run every line possible on the track, and no one's able to make any progress.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Gary because Gary checked out at the beginning of the race. Matt couldn't run him down. Then Matt ran away. Every time I was in a beehive of 5 cars. I mean, we had some unbelievable racing in the middle of the pack. I don't know how much of that you saw, but it was all of us on top of each other. The amount you had to back up the corner, not knowing exactly when the person in front of you was going to lift because we all had different braking points. Yeah, I literally was a big wuss at the beginning. I'm sure you brought that up, Guile. I was so frustrated with how slow I was. I could not figure it out, but just getting out and in the pack and a couple of cautions brought us together again. Dan, Maria, super sorry for that contact. I still don't know how they're going to rule it, but I was certainly not trying to take you out. But I will take the W, I guess.
Yeah, saying Andrew that, and yeah, T. I mean, that's exactly what I was referring to. Like it's one of those things, like it's super conflicted because, like I said, you race these guys week in week out. And I mean, we know how much respect you all have for each other, and
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, it's a competitive thing, even when you try to have fun, and so sometimes those types of things do happen, and yeah, I mean, and that's like you said, I mean, that's all you can do is like you talk to dudes like, hey, sorry about that, definitely wasn't intentional, and then yeah, and then you kind of keep going from there and keep racing. That's what makes leagues and all this stuff so tricky, is because it is the dudes you race with week in week out, and yeah, so it definitely makes it that little extra part of it. And but that's what I love about this stuff too, is like I said, it's just the general just respect for everybody. It's like we
Yeah.
know stuff's gonna happen, and but it's the, like, I mean, because I'm sure we've all been wrecked and radio silence
Yep.
on the other end, and it's like that just makes you more mad. So no, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said,
I
you did
jumped
all you
right
could.
on the radio to like say, I'm sorry. But when I look at it from the chase count, I just saw like a chance that I might have cracked the throttle there, seeing that I was moving up. I get it. Like he wanted to maintain the spot. I was having to save fuel to get to the end. So it was like I was trying to get ahead of him and be in map 5 for the rest of the way and just get P2 because I needed to save fuel. Um, and so I threw fuel out of the way, and I always do that. I don't pay enough attention to fuel. Hobson and I kind of just let it rip. Yari's kind of the same way. We were talking about that, the similar racers where we just want to race. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I'm 3 laps short on fuel to the rest of you guys. And so then it was map 5ing it, and I was still faster than they were. So it was really cooking around the top with a bunch of jacker in it and a bunch of moving the brake bias to the rear, to the front. I'm sorry.
And that's and that's the other thing, Andrews. I mean, we just assumed that everybody was easy good to the end on fuel, so kind of interesting to note on that as well. But like I said, obviously we'll let them do their stuff in the background. Like I said, I mean, like I said, a hell of a drive tonight to I mean, gain the 5 spots to get up there, and then just like I said, to find all those settings and adjustments. I mean, like I said, you were working all race long to get there, and I mean, just like I said, talking to you at the beginning, it was just night and day
Yeah.
from how you felt then to what we saw from you now. So just awesome job. Just like I said, digging the whole way, trying to find all the adjustments you can, and that's why we do this. It's the same thing. Like it's fun when you're like, hey, I made a difference in what I was able to do. So yeah, definitely go enjoy this one, man. But before we do and let you do that, I definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shout outs for the win tonight.
Really just want to call out Dan. He's such a good guy and a great racer, phenomenal road racer, and he's gotten so much better on the ovals. You guys for doing the broadcast. Hopefully my dad gets a chance to watch this. He's battling Parkinson's out in Palm Springs. The Dark Horse guys, wish Schaus would have been in here with us. I'm not sure exactly where he's at, and Craig as well. But most of all, just it's not as exciting as when we won a Motegi when I knew I had the fastest car and it was clean. This one, that one has with an asterisk next to it. I don't like that, so it's unfortunate.
Yeah, so
I
you'll
don't like to
get
race that way.
yeah, and that's like you'll get those bittersweet wins. I mean, we kind of could see it the way you just pulled into pit road afterwards too, which
Yeah.
may have been fuel too. I don't know for sure, but
No, I just felt like a jackass. Like it's not the third is better than banging someone out of the way to go get a W. Like that's just not what I wanted to do. So there was no burning tires down any of that shit. Like it was still fun. I had the fastest car. I mean that I am confident of, but that the fastest car doesn't equal a W. That's not a fair way to race. So it was absolutely unintentional. Just not enough talent, I guess.
well, hopefully in the future more people have the same mindset as you, because I feel like that's a very rare opinion anymore. So we'll get you over to your teammates, man. Go, I say, enjoy this one as best you can. But like I said, regardless, though, I mean, a hell of a drive. It was well ran, well adjusted. Like, yeah, that was really cool to see, man. So great job tonight.
Thank you. You guys have a great night. Thank you for the broadcast.
Thanks.
All right, Andrew, that is our race winner, Charles Teed, and like kind of like we were talking about, it was gonna probably be a conflicted one, and that's exactly what we got there. Where it's, yes, he's really happy, but it's one of those ones where it kind of takes a little bit of the wind out of your sails, kind of a deal, and yeah. So I say I'm sure he and Dan will chat at some point about it and kind of mend fences and all that. And I mean, they may already have, for all we know. Obviously, don't know on the back end. So It might, I say, honestly, the off week might be a good thing. That way, it's some time for let it kind of settle and they can chat. And I mean, again, I don't see anything carrying over from that because they've raced with each other for seasons now, years now, different series, different leagues. So I don't see too much drama on that one. But what a race, though! I mean, that was, like I said, that was polar opposite. If you tell me we're gonna see like pack racing for that, pretty much that whole second fuel run, I would have never guessed it.
Yeah, I'm still in complete shock about the about the pack racing, quote unquote, the Milwaukee pack racing we saw. That was not something that I ever expected coming into this race, and I really meant what I said to Matt, that if it were me and I had such a dominating lead and then suddenly everyone's passing me or getting next to me and me unable to do anything on similar tires to everyone else, I'd be kind of dumbfounded. But yeah, I really hope we get some of our guys back for the next one, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this championship plays out as we're reaching the halfway point in our season right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'll definitely be. I'm sure Matt will be knocking on doors and making phone calls like, "Hey, where'd you guys go?" But yeah, no, I think we'll have some good group of guys coming back after the break. Like I said, we'll off next week for the 4th of July weekend. Back at the Charlotte Oval in 2 weeks' time, so that's gonna be an interesting one. And then if there's people not showing up for this next race after that, there's something wrong with them. That's at Michigan International Speedway. That's probably one of my favorite tracks besides Auto Club and Indy, of course, with these cars. But that's going to be a lot of fun as well. I'm looking forward to those ones. But like I said, we'll be off for a week after tonight, though. I say for the 4th of July break. However, we will be back on Thursday night for the Super Speedway Xfinity Series. So, Andrew, as always, appreciate you. It's a lot of fun doing these with you. Say I love your knowledge and insight. It makes me kind of feel a little less better about things, or a little more better, I should say, due to my lack of knowledge of these cars.
Ooh, I don't want to make you less better.
Yeah, no, so you make me sound worse because you know your stuff. But no, no, I say it's a pleasure doing these with you. It's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to getting some more in with you the rest of the season.
Yeah, we got some good races coming up, and yeah, it's sad that we didn't get to do the turning left and right course last week, but unfortunately, low turnout there prevented us from putting on a broadcast as well. But we could change that going forward, and I think we're going to have a good rest of the season. We see some new names coming in here, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Well, obviously, like I said, some guys are on vacation. Summer obviously throws wrenches into some things, but we'll get a good crew back, I'm sure, for the next race and then the rest of the season. So, thank you everybody for watching, for supporting us here at Green White Checker TV. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and like I said, we'll be back on Thursday night for the Super Speedway Xfinity Series. So, until then, take care, stay safe, and have a wonderful evening. Good night, everybody.